Hey, Prince Rana here, and thank you for dropping by. Before introducing you to some of the foods, let's quickly talk about Hawaii. It is a state in the western United States located in the Pacific Ocean about 3,200 kilometers from the US mainland. They have a strict entry requirement in midst of this current global pandemic. A 10-day mandatory self-quarantine remains in place for all trans-Pacific passengers. Travelers entering the state from the US and its territories who have been fully vaccinated in the United States, including its territories, may bypass quarantine without a pre-travel test. With a population of nearly 1.5 million people, Hawaii has averaged 652 cases a day over the past week and has a 7.5% positivity rate, according to state data. In early July, the state was averaging 50 cases a day. On Monday, 7-day average of new daily cases hit 671, more than triple the level 4 weeks earlier. Its largest private hospital system has run out of ICU beds amid a surge of new coronavirus cases. The hospitals were cancelling some elective surgeries and procedures and diverting emergency patients to other hospitals. Right now, hospitals are really stressed across all the islands because they are already full and the COVID count continues to climb. The nearest hospital outside Hawaii is all the way across the ocean in San Francisco, California, only 3,857 kilometers away. So we can understand why Government David Ig, the 23rd, said, "It is not a good time to travel to Hawaii. Residents and travelers reduce travel to essential business activities only." Now the fools. Chloe Mrozak was arrested at the Daniel K. Inouye International Airport in Honolulu on Saturday for violating Hawaii's emergency proclamation. She attempted to use a fake COVID-19 vaccine card with the shot maker listed as Moderna instead of Moderna and is facing up to $5,000 in fine and potential jail time. Chloe was unable to post bail, which was set at $2,000, and was placed in custody, pending a Monday court appearance. The case continued Wednesday for the waiving or demanding of a jury trial. Enzo Dalmazzo and Daniela Dalmazzo, a Florida couple, has been arrested in Hawaii after allegedly using fake COVID vaccine cards for themselves and their 2 children. The family presented the cards at the airport where a staff member noticed the ages of the children, who were born in 2016 and 2017. Vaccines are not yet available in the US for children under the age of 12. The screener at the airport, when they came through, noticed an anomaly about the age of the children and the vaccine. They were taken into custody shortly after they arrived in Honolulu and charged on counting of presenting false documents. They were jailed on a total bail of $8,000 and have since been released. Finally, we have a Los Angeles area father and son who have been arrested for allegedly trying to use fake COVID-19 vaccine cards in Hawaii again to bypass the mandatory quarantine there. Norbert Chung and his son Trevor from the Pacific Palisades were arrested Sunday at the Honolulu airport after someone tipped off investigators. A couple of days ago, I have released a video on Jasmine Clifford, also known as Anti-vaxxer Mama on Instagram, who has been charged with selling fake COVID-19 vaccination cards. Link is in description. The scary thing is, people are still trying to pull this shitty stunt while thinking only about themselves and their monetary gain. People in Twitter aren't too far behind. Here is one user that keeps posting really stupid tweet. Some of her tweets are, "So disappointed, my friend. Her husband and kids got jabbed. They all know it's a scam, but didn't feel they could fight the system. The vaccine certificate and mandates are obviously discrimination, but they are also a very useful tool to discreetly dismantle societies. Surely, if you believe in the Bible, you can't dispute flat earth and the moon landing. All are historic, all are hearsay, all can be falsified." And the icing on the cake, somebody asked me if I could get a fake cert for their 16-year-old daughter. They don't want her jabbed, but she is under fierce pressure within her group. No judgment here, but WTF has happened to this country. I do at least agree with her last statement. WTF has happened to the world. Since when did people become this brain dead? Our next fool is multimillionaire Joe Rogan. I remember him from the old UFC days and did enjoy his commentary, but his YouTube channel and podcast? Not so much. I always thought he either agreed or didn't push back with his guest on whatever stupid nonsensical belief they have. But it got worse when Rogan said on his show, "If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, I don't know, you don't need to worry about this." Rogan's comment also drew the ire of the White House. I guess my first question would be, did Joe Rogan become a medical doctor while we weren't looking? White House Communication Director Kate Bedingfield told CNN, "I'm not sure that taking scientific and medical advice from Joe Rogan is perhaps the most productive way for people to get their information." He also claimed that people trying to enforce COVID-19 vaccine requirements don't know much about history, although he didn't mention science books or the French they took. On a recent episode of his popular Spotify podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, Rogan had a simple explanation for why many have been pushing for businesses, workplaces, schools, and other indoor public areas to require vaccination. "Because they are dumb," said Rogan. "They don't understand history. They don't understand human beings. They don't understand human nature. They don't understand the history of every single country that ever existed other than the United States." Rogan also added, 1776 America was the first country with elected officials and everything else was a dictatorship. Obviously, people were quick to point out that the first elected officials were in 508 BCE in Athens. Now this moron has contracted COVID, he announced on Wednesday. Rogan says he is feeling better, but his health update undoubtedly made health experts instantly sick. On Instagram, the podcaster, who professes not to be an authority on health, said that he had immediately thrown the kitchen sink at his infection. Amongst the many medication he used, he said, was ivermectin, a drug used against parasites in humans and livestock.
So I got back from the road Saturday night, feeling very weary. I had a headache and I just felt just run down. And just to be cautious, I separated from my family, slept in a different part of the house. And throughout the night, I got fevers and sweats, and I knew what was going on. So I got up in the morning, got tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything. Here we are on Wednesday, and I feel great. I really only had one bad day.
Rogan, described by the New York Times as one of the most consumed media products on the planet, has legions of devoted followers. Some episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience have boasted tens of millions of downloads, and his recommendations for everything from supplements to shaving supplies can be a godsend for companies. That's why his apparent endorsement of a medicine unproven as an effective treatment for COVID-19 is concerning. Rogan's announcement is not his first widely criticized tang with ivermectin. The 22nd June episode of his podcast features an interview with Dr. Perry Corey, who testified to US senators in December about ivermectin and called it a miracle drug. Maybe someone can remind me who this skeptic was. It's a story I read when I was little. So our protagonist was laid in bed with fever. So his sister came to him with some medicine and said, "Take Jesus' name and the medicine." His reply was, "Let me try the medicine on its own, and if it fails, I will take Jesus' name." And thus I get to use my favorite Latin quote, "Post hoc ergo propter hoc." Now, how does it tie with Joe Rogan? Well, this super rich guy can afford top-of-the-range medication including monoclonal antibodies, which does help treating COVID-19, and FDA had approved it back in May 2021. Experts also add that focus should be on prevention rather than a cure. So it is extremely likely that this is the drug that helped instead of ivermectin. But to his followers, this horse paste is what they can find easily. In fact, gunshot victims forced to wait for treatments as Oklahoma hospitals fill up with people overdosing from ivermectin, with ambulances are stuck at the hospital waiting for a bed to open so they could unload new patients. Mississippi's health department even issued an alert in August saying 70% of the recent calls to the state poison control center had come from people who overingested ivermectin from livestock supply stores. Now I get it that everyone wants some cure for COVID because it's such a devastating illness. But please stop using ivermectin and get the vaccine because it is the best protection we have at this point. Everything else is risk after risk. Recently, Brazilian researchers have found that a molecule in the venom of a type of a snake slowed down the reproduction of coronavirus in monkey cells. These are from jararacussu, a highly venomous pit viper and is one of the largest snakes in Brazil. It lives in the coastal Atlantic forest and is also found in Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina. The discovery also sparked some concerns. Herpetologist Giuseppe Porto said that he worries about people traveling around the country trying to be cured by the viper's venom. We're worried about people going out to hunt the jararacussu around Brazil, thinking they're going to save the world. That's not it, Puerto told Reuters. It's not the venom itself that will cure the coronavirus. So keep your eyes open. We may get a bunch of people getting bitten by snake just to stop COVID. In a sense, it may actually work. Anything but the vaccine, right? For the final dumbness, well, a little prelude. I have mentioned an acquaintance of mine who's a conspiracy nut of the worst kind. Didn't believe in the virus, doesn't believe in vaccine, thinks Trump has won the election, deep state, you name it. The only thing he doesn't believe is flat earth, which does surprise me. Anyway, he's involved in a Telegram group where they talk about all sorts of stupid shit. And he has also added me to it. I don't mind, it gives me content. Now, one thing we know about all anti-vaxxers. If they can find anyone with a doctor in their title and agrees with their viewpoint, they will jump on top of it and shout about it from the mountaintops. And the next thing about them is, they hate Bill Gates. Not because of Windows ME or Vista, but apparently he's planning to microchip us all. Damn stupid people. With all of us carrying a mobile around with us all the time, what's the point? Anyway, a recent message in this group caught my eye. The title was, "Shocking! Bill Gates calls for the withdrawal of all COVID-19 vaccines. The vaccines are far more dangerous than anyone imagined." Before checking the message, my first thought was, is it argumentum ab auctoritate or argument from authority in English? I mean, even the smartest people are known to have said some really dumb stuff. The guy who explained gravity and gave us the 3 laws we still follow also believed in alchemy. I mean, that is why we have peer reviews. So my second thought was, maybe it is misquoting Bill Gates cause he's no Elon Musk and doesn't normally say stupid stuff. And third thought was, even if he did, so what? It doesn't make it true. But isn't this funny? When he suggests everyone should take vaccine, these people completely refuted that statement. But the moment he says vaccines are dangerous, all of a sudden they stand up and take notice. The article reads, in a shocking announcement, Bill Gates, billionaire Microsoft co-founder and the major force behind the COVID-19 vaccines, called for all the COVID-19 genetic-based vaccines to be taken off the market immediately. In an often anguished 19-minute televised speech, Gates said, "We made a terrible mistake. We wanted to protect people against a dangerous virus, but it turns out the virus is much less dangerous than we thought, and the vaccine is far more dangerous than anyone imagined. These vaccines, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, they are killing people left and right, and they are injuring some people very badly," Gates continued, waving his hands in the air at times for dramatic effect. And of course, the anti-vaxxer continues with, "Well, is a futile attempt. Too little, too late, as they say. Oh, he thinks he's going to suggest and make it look like he didn't know? Yeah, right. If you believe that, I got a swampland in Florida for you. Be freaking ass. Just one question. How in the hell is it possible for millions of people worldwide know that the vaccines will kill you for sure? How do we know? And they're absolutely noticed by the general public that graphene oxide is pure poison when the owner/inventory of their things don't know anything? They bit the effing thing together. They know who's vaccinated. Oh, and 85% of the people who got vaccinated are the first to die from COVID-19. We all know people. He ain't getting up that easy. I mean, over 71% of Canada is and had been vaccinated and therefore will die. 3 years or left." And as source, they link to my old friend dailyexpose.co.uk. First, quick self-promotion. I have a video titled "We Will All Die in 2 Years, Apparently," if you want to find out more. Now, about my old friend, I have 3 videos exposing Daily Expose. All links are in description, just in case you want to check those out. Second, stupid me. I didn't think of any other possibilities. Just for fun, I will give you 10 seconds to think of what else might be going on. So what did I find? A note from the editor. When we first published this article, we should have made it clear at the beginning that it was satire, rather than at the end. We did not do this and we apologize. Dear Brahma, Krishna, Jews, Jesus, and every other god, how are people this stupid? Let me conclude this with a statement from John Oliver. And before you say, well, vulnerable people should just get vaccinated then. The vaccine are only 95% effective, so they'll probably be okay. But maybe not. Also, the more the virus circulates, the likelier we will see mutations that make it more dangerous, possibly helping it to evade the vaccine completely, putting us all the way back to square one. So get the effing vaccine. Well, that's all for this video. If you think it's a worthwhile video, and to ensure YouTube suggests it, please leave a like and even share it around. If you want to be super awesome, please consider subscribing so you can be updated with my new contents. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated and helpful for growth of my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.